This is Akashvani. A literary talk on anecdotes as a literary form. The talk is delivered by Dr. P.Poongundran, Head and Associate Professor, Department of English, Ramakrishna Mission, Vivekananda College, Chennai.
An anecdote is a short, engaging story about a real incident or person. It is often used to illustrate a point, entertain, or provide insight into a character or situation. Though not a distant literary genre, on its own, anecdotes appear in various forms of literature, including biographies, essays, speeches, and fictional narratives. Characteristics of anecdotes: brevity, they are concise and focus on a single event or moment. Personal or historical relevance, they often involve real people or historical events. Engaging and informal, they are usually conversational and intended to capture the audience's attention. Illustrative purpose, used to support an argument, moral, or a theme in larger works. Types of anecdotes: personal anecdotes based on the author's or speaker's own experiences, historical anecdotes featuring famous figures or significant events, humorous anecdotes told to entertain and amuse, philosophical or moral anecdotes convey a lesson or a deeper meaning. Narrating anecdotes as a literary talk is justified because anecdotes serve as engaging, relatable, and effective tools for enhancing communication, comprehension, and critical skills. Anecdotes enhances engagement and helpful for retention, develops critical thinking, strengthens language skills, encourages emotional intelligence, contextualizes abstract concepts, and promotes a culture of storytelling. Therefore, narrating anecdotes as literary talk is not just a method of communication but also a pedagogical strategy that enables learning, engagement, and comprehension. Few anecdotes for your listening. Sri Ramakrishna, the 19th century mystic, often used a simple yet profound parables to convey deep spiritual truths. One such anecdote is the sugar border on the mountain of Bundi, which illustrates how to handle temptation and distractions on the spiritual path. The anecdote: a disciple once asked Sri Ramakrishna how one could remain unaffected by worldly temptations while living in the world. In response, Sri Ramakrishna gave this analogy. Suppose a mound of bundi, a sweet Indian delicacy, is placed before you, and a line of sugar is drawn in a circle around it. If an ant comes near, it may taste the sugar at the border, but will not enter to climb the mound of bundi. Similarly, a person should engage with the world only as much as necessary, but should not get deeply entangled in material pleasures and desires. The meaning: the mountain of Bundi represents the vast, tempting pleasures of the world, wealth, power, and sensory indulgence. The sugar border represents limited, necessary engagement with the world, like fulfilling responsibilities without attachment. The ant symbolizes an individual on the spiritual path. If the ant crosses the sugar border and climbs the bundi mound, it will be lost in indulgence, just as excessive attachment to worldly desires can lead to spiritual downfall. The lesson we learn from this anecdote is: Sri Ramakrishna advises seekers to live in the world but not to be consumed by it. One should maintain detachment while fulfilling worldly duties, just as an ant should stop at the sugar border without venturing into the tempting mountain of sweets. Next anecdote. A philosopher was once asked, "Where are you going?" The philosopher replied, "I am journeying toward my grave." The questioner, puzzled, inquired further, "What do you mean?" With a contemplative smile, the philosopher explained, "From the moment of birth, I walk an inevitable path towards the end. Along the way, I study to understand the world, I work to sustain myself, I earn to provide for my needs, I marry to share my existence, and I have children to extend the story beyond my own mortality. Yet all of this is but a fleeting prelude to the final destination that awaits us all. Every step I take, every choice I make, merely marks another milestone on this passage towards the silence that embraces all things. We are all travelers on the road, some aware, some ignorant, but none exempt from the journey. The lesson we learn from this anecdote is this reflection turned the simple question into a profound meditation on the transient nature of life and the inevitability of death. Next anecdote. A father's lesson on strength. A little boy struggled to lift a heavy stone. His father, noticing his difficulty, approached him and asked, "Are you using all your strength?" "Yes, I am," the boy replied impatiently. The father repeated the question multiple times, and each time the boy, growing more frustrated, insisted that he was using his full strength. Finally, the father gently said, "No, you are not. I am right here, waiting, and you haven't asked me for help. Am I not a part of your strength?" The lesson we learn. This simple yet profound lesson teaches us that strength is not just personal effort, but also the support we receive from others. We should learn to seek and embrace the strength of those around us, our parents, teachers, mentors, and even friends. Physical strength, intellectual guidance, emotional support, and financial assistance all contribute to our overall ability to face challenges. True strength lies not only in self reliance, but also in recognizing when to lean on others. By doing so, we do not just become strong, we become stronger. Next anecdote. My dear listeners, imagine a vast forest where hundreds of deer are running, pursued, chased by hundreds of lions. Every morning, a deer walks up in the wilderness. It knows that if it does not run faster than the fastest lion, it will be caught and killed. At the same time, every morning, a lion wakes up. It knows that if it does not run faster than the slowest deer, it will starve to death. It does not matter whether you are a lion or a deer. When the sun rises, you must start running to survive. Lesson we learn from this anecdote is success and survival depend on constant effort and perseverance. No matter your position in life, you must keep moving forward to achieve your goals. Next anecdote. A small sparrow flew around in search of food, but unable to find any, it grew exhausted and collapsed unconscious. At that moment, a passing cow dropped its dung on the sparrow and moved on. The warmth of the dung revived the little bird, bringing it back to consciousness. The sparrow chirped loudly. Hearing the noise, a passing predator noticed the movement, dug through the dung, pulled out the sparrow, and ate it. The lesson we learn from this anecdote is not everyone who dirties you is your enemy, and not everyone who pulls you out from dirt is your friend. The next anecdote: the millionaire and the monk. Once a millionaire suffered from severe eye pain. He consulted numerous physicians and underwent extensive treatments, consuming heavy doses of medication and receiving countless injections. Yet the pain persisted with unrelenting intensity. At last, a monk, renowned for his wisdom and expertise in healing, was summoned. After carefully observing the millionaire's condition, the monk advised him to focus only on the color green for some time and to avoid looking at any other colors. Taking this advice quite literally, the millionaire hired a team of painters, purchased barrels of green paint, and ordered that every object within his sight be painted green. His entire surroundings, walls, furniture, trees, even utensils, were transformed to match his new vision of the world. When the monk returned to visit him, the servants of the millionaire, in their eagerness to follow orders, rushed to drench the monk in green paint, fearing that their master's eyes might catch a glimpse of another color and his pain would return. Seeing this, the monk laughed and said, "If only you had brought a pair of green spectacles, costing just a few rupees, you could have saved a lot of money and labor, and also yourself the trouble of painting the entire world green. You cannot paint the world green. Instead, change your perspective." The lesson we'll learn from this anecdote is, this story conveys a profound lesson about perception and self-transformation. Often we try to change the world around us to suit our comfort, attempting to control external circumstances. However, true peace and happiness comes from changing our own mindset and adjusting our vision. Instead of reshaping the world, we must reshape ourselves. A simple change in perspective can solve many of our problems, making life easier and more fulfilling. Thus, the key to a happy and peaceful life is not in altering the external world, but in transforming our inner world. Instead of complicating life with unnecessary struggles, we should embrace simplicity and adopt a mindful, positive outlook. Thank you.
You just heard to a literary talk on anecdotes as a literary form. The talk was delivered by Dr. P.Poongundran, Head and Associate Professor, Department of English, Ramakrishna Mission, VIVEKANANDA College, Chennai. This program came to you from the studios of Akashvani, Chennai.